chapter 237 of Shrimadbhagavatam, Narakasura. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narakasura was a thorn on the side of Indra. He had become very powerful and he was able to defeat Indra. He took the precious earrings which adorned the ears of Aditi, the mother of Indra. He also took by force the famed umbrella of Varuna. The mountain Meru, which was the favorite resort of Indra, was now Narakas, and his harassment became so much that the Devas could no longer put up with it. Indra came to Krishna and asked him to help him. The Devas were desperate. Krishna agreed to do so, and he took Satyabhama with him. Narakasura lived in a fabulous city by name Pragyajyotisha. It was very well fortified. It was surrounded on all sides by hills which were very difficult to scale. The city was guarded by an army made up of asuras carrying dreadful weapons. The weapons themselves formed a formidable barrier. After that, water, fire, and air were all made to serve the purpose of defending the city. Tens of thousands of pashas given to him by an asura named Mura were further strengthening the city. Krishna approached the city of Pragyajyotisha. He took up his gada and with it he broke open the first obstacle, which was the range of mountains. With his arrows he broke through the defense made up of weapons. His discus destroyed the defense made up of water and air. With his sword he snapped the pashas laid there by Mura. Krishna blew triumphantly on his conch, and the notes filled the minds of the people with terror. Krishna took up his gada again and split the fortress with it. When he heard the loud notes from Panchajanya, the asura by name Mura woke up from his sleep. He was lying inside the water sleeping. From under the waters emerged Mura with his 5 heads, which would strike terror into the hearts of all his enemies. His form was glowing like the sun and Agni at the end of the Yuga. With his trident lifted high in the air, he rushed towards Krishna. His 5 heads and 10 arms looked like they were going to swallow up Krishna. Krishna had come to the fight riding on his Garuda. Mura hurled his trident at Krishna's Vahana, Garuda, and shouted with all his 5 throats. He thought that he had achieved his desire. The very air in all the 3 worlds quivered with the echo of his shouting. Krishna sent 3 arrows and broke the trident which had been hurled at Garuda, and with his arrows Krishna hurt Mura in his faces. Mura was furious with anger and pain, and he hurled his gada at Krishna. Krishna raised his own gada, and the gada of the enemy was split into fragments. Mura now rushed towards Krishna with uplifted arms. Krishna used his chakra to cut off all the 5 heads of Mura, who fell into the water like a huge mountain whose wings had been cut off by Indra's Vajra. Mura had 7 sons: Tamra, Antariksha, Shravana, Vibhavasu, Vasu, Nabhaswan, and Aruna. They were very sad at the thought that their father had been vanquished so easily by this mere man. Their sorrow turned into anger, and they came out of the city to fight with Krishna. They were led by Pita, the commander-in-chief who had been sent by Narakasura. In a matter of few moments, Krishna destroyed all of them. Narakasura, the son of Bhumi, Mother Earth, was amazed at the fact that all of them had been killed by Krishna. He emerged out of the city, and with him came an army of elephants, noble beasts which belonged to the clan of Airavata. They were also born of the ocean of milk, and the air was filled with the sweet scent of the rut flowing from their heads. It was magnificent sight, this army made up of elephants. Naraka came out and stood firm. He looked around and saw Krishna seated on the Garuda, and with him was his wife Bama. Krishna looked like a rain-bearing cloud with a streak of lightning across illuminating it. Naraka sent an astra by name Shathagni. The army which was attacking Krishna and Garuda was destroyed by Krishna's arrows, and the elephants were almost all killed or wounded by Garuda and Krishna. Naraka was very angry since his astra became futile against Krishna. He fought with great ferocity, and yet he could not upset Garuda even one bit. The bird stood firm as a small mountain. Naraka now used his Shakti and tried to hurt the bird. This also proved ineffective. Naraka decided that he would try to kill Krishna, and so he took up his trident. Even before he could hurl it, Krishna threw his chakra and severed the head of Narakasura from his body. There was great jubilation in the heavens when they saw the head of Naraka fallen on the ground. Bhumi, the mother of Naraka, came to Krishna and placed at his feet the glorious kundalas of Aditi, the umbrella which was the insignia of Varuna, and finally she gave Krishna Mandhara, the jeweled peak of the mountain Meru. She stood with folded palms in front of Krishna and praised him, and then said, "My lord, ages back, when I had been taken to nether world by Hiranyaksha, you took the form of a boar and lifted me out of the sea. Because of the thrill of your embrace, this son Naraka was born to me. You gave him to me, and now you have yourself taken him away from me. Please have mercy and spare this son of Naraka and let him live." Krishna raised up the son of Naraka, whom she had placed at his feet. Holding his hand, Krishna entered the city called Pragjyotisha. There he saw many beautiful women. He found that Narakasura, defeating so many kings and devas and nagas, had brought with him all the young maidens who were to be found in the cities he had conquered. There were 16,100 maidens. He sent them all to Dwaraka. He also sent 64 white elephants, which were the pride of Naraka, to his city. Taking the kundalas of Aditi in his hands, he thought of going to the heavens and returning them himself to Indra, and so Bama and he were carried by Garuda to the heavens. Indra received them with great excitement and honored Krishna, who was their savior. Indrani welcomed Bama, and the earthly couple spent some time with the heavenly ones. One day, while looking at the rare sights in the heavens, Bama saw the tree by name Parijata. It had flowers whose perfume was unknown on the earth. Bama fell in love with the tree and asked Krishna to get it for her. Krishna told Indra that he would take the Parijata tree with him since Bama wanted it. Indra refused to give it since he felt that the things belonging to the heavens should not be seen on the earth. Krishna was first amused and later angry with Indra for his behavior. He pulled out the tree from the garden and placing it on Garuda, returned to the earth. Indra could not brook this. He came in mid-air and fought with Krishna. The heavenly host was scattered and Indra was vanquished. Krishna brought the tree and had it placed in Satyabhama's garden. Indra, who had fallen at the feet of Krishna and asked such a great favor of him when he was troubled by Naraka, had his wish granted. And when his desire was fulfilled, the mind of Indra became again clouded with arrogance and the pride born of wealth and power, and he could not give a tree to Krishna. Strange indeed are the antics which wealth plays. So thought Krishna, and after a moment forgot the entire incident. Rukmi's daughter. Rukmi, who had refused to enter the city of Kundinapura without his sister, kept his word. He built a city named Bojakata and lived there. He had a daughter by name Rukmavati. He held a Swayambara for her, and Pradyumna, the son of Krishna, went there as a suitor. Much to the dismay of Rukmi, his daughter seemed to have a desire to garland his enemy's son. He tried to dissuade her, but Pradyumna, realizing that she had chosen him, took her away forcibly from the hall and rode away. Rukmi did not stop him, nor did he fight with him, since he loved his sister immensely and did not want to fight with her son. To Pradyumna and Rukmavati was born a son, and his name was Aniruddha. He was just as handsome as his father or his grandfather. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Shri Krishnar Pranamast. Chapter 238 of Shrimadbhagavatam, Banasura, the son of Bali. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. When Lord Narayana took the form of Vamana and asked Bali for the gift of 3 feet of land, he had been so touched by the bhakti which Bali displayed towards him that he promised to be the doorkeeper to Bali in the nether world. There was also the fact that Bali was the grandson of Prahlada, the favored bhakta of the Lord. This Bali had 100 sons, the eldest of whom was Banasura. He was a great devotee of Mahadeva. He commanded great respect in all the 3 worlds, since he was a good person. He was a great giver, ever truthful and highly intelligent. He had very strong principles, and he ruled the city by name Shonita. Because of the love he had for Mahadeva, and because he was the favorite bhakta of Mahadeva, all the devas served Banasura as though they were his servants. Once, during the dance of Mahadeva, Banasura, who had as many as 1,000 hands, played on the drum Mridanga as the accompaniment to the divine dance, and Mahadeva was so pleased with him that he asked him to name any boon he desired. Bana had by now become slightly arrogant about his strength and about the love the Lord had for him. He laid his jeweled head at the feet of Mahadeva and said, "My Lord, I am so bored. In this entire world there is no one except yourself to match his strength with mine. These 1,000 arms which you have given me are just a burden, since they have no work. I went to the mountains and crushed them to dust. I then challenged the elephants which guard the 8 quarters, and they became so frightened that they ran away from me. I want someone to fight with me. Is there anyone strong enough? That is all I desire." Mahadeva knew that his end was drawing near, and he said, "You stupid fool, I thought that you were different from the others, that you would have some sense. Even you have succumbed to the dread enemy, arrogance. Your desire will be granted. I assure you, when your flagstaff breaks and falls to the ground, you will be made to fight with one who is as powerful as I am. Then your arrogance will be punished." Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Shri Krishnar Pranamast. Chapter 239 of Shrimad Bhagavatam, Usha's Dream. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Banasura had a beautiful daughter by name Usha. One night, she had a dream. In her dream, she met a very handsome young man whom she had never seen before. He spent the night with her, and when she woke up, she found that it was all a dream. Her friend Chitralekha, the daughter of the king's minister, found her in tears. "What has upset you, my friend?" she asked with great concern in her voice. I have never seen you like this before. Tell me, Usha said. You are the only one to whom I can tell what has happened to me. Last night, I dreamed of a very handsome young man. He was very young. His eyes were like the petals of a lotus. He was wearing yellow colored silk and his arms were long and beautiful. He held me in his arms and I was happy the whole night. And now I am sunk in awe because he left me and went away. And Usha placed her head in her two palms and wept. Chitralekha said, Listen, perhaps you have seen some young man some time back and he has managed to enter your dream since your thoughts opened the gateway of the dream world to him. It is your own mind which has conjured up such an elaborate vision. It is not possible for someone whom you have never seen to be seen by you in a dream. Think, Usha, have you seen him? Usha said, But I am telling you, I have never seen this man before. If I had, do you think I would have been able to forget him? Chitra, I do not know what to do. Do you think I will dream of him tonight also? That is my only hope. Chitralekha thought for a while and then said, Look, I have learned the art of painting. Sage Narada was the one who has taught me to paint. I will paint the gods and the kings on the face of the earth and every human being who is reputed to be handsome. You tell me which of them your lover is. Chitralekha began to paint. She first painted Lord Ganesha, who averts all obstacles in any mission. She then painted her Guru Narada, then the Devas, Gandharvas, Siddhas, Charanas, Pannagas, Daityas, Vidyadharas, Ekshas. For every one of them Usha shook her head and said, Not he, my lord was much more handsome than this. And so it went on. Chitralekha now began to paint the kings on the earth. House after house was rejected by the princess. When she came to the house of the Yadavas, Usha said, Wait, there is some sort of resemblance between the one you have painted and my lord. Who is this? It was Vasudeva. Chitralekha then painted Balarama and then Krishna. The resemblance was more pronounced according to Usha, especially when Krishna was painted. Chitralekha then painted Pradyumna. Usha said, It is almost the portrait of my lord, only he was younger. Chitralekha finally painted the picture of Aniruddha, and from the blush on the face of Usha, she knew that that was the man. She smiled at Usha and said, Now that I have known who has stolen your heart, I will steal him and bring him to you. How? Asked Usha with her eyes wide open. Just wait and see, said Chitralekha. Night had fallen. Chitralekha was well versed in yoga, and she flew in the air and reached the city of Dwaraka. She entered the inner apartments of the palace, and after a search for a while, she found Aniruddha sleeping alone on a cot. She lifted him bodily and brought him to Sonitapura and left him by the side of Usha. When he was woken up gently by a pair of flower-like hands, Aniruddha opened his eyes, but he thought that he was dreaming of a beautiful woman making love to him. It took him some time to realize what had happened. Chitralekha and Usha concealed him in the Antapura very effectively, and time passed by unnoticed, at least by the lovers. Chitralekha kept jealous guard over the lovers, but somehow the servants came to know of it, and one by one they started noticing Usha and her face suffused with joy. They knew that only the love of a man can bring that look to a woman's eyes. Usha was in love and her lover was there. Soon they went to Banasura and said, My lord, We have come to tell you about something which is happening in the apartments of your daughter. We have been guarding her very carefully, but somehow a man has entered the inner chambers, and we are afraid he has been with her for quite some time. We were not sure till now, but we know for certain that there is a man in the palace, and we thought it our duty to inform you. It is up to you to do what you will. Banasura rushed to the apartments of Usha. His coming was so sudden that he was able to find out what was happening. He found Aniruddha, the grandson of Krishna, was sitting on the cot with his daughter, and they were playing a game of dice. For a moment, Bana was taken aback with the handsomeness of the young man. Aniruddha was quickly surrounded by the guards, and he tried to fight with them and with Bana also. Seeing that it would be hard to capture this young man, Bana used the Nagapasha and bound up the offending young lover of his Usha and took him captive in spite of Usha's weeping remonstrances. In the meantime, Dwaraka was sunk in awe. The people in the palace could not find the young prince anywhere, and try as they might, they were unable to find him. They had no clue as to where he had gone or what had happened to him. 4 months passed by. To the presence of Krishna came Narada, who was welcomed eagerly by the brothers. They honored him as was big due, and after he was seated in a high seat, Narada looked at them and asked them, "You are all looking preoccupied. Something seems to be worrying you. What has happened?" Krishna said, "Of course, you know why we are worried, but because you have to ask, you are asking us, my lord." Narada smiled as Krishna continued, "It is about my grandson Aniruddha. One night he suddenly disappeared, and so many days have passed, and still we have not been able to locate his whereabouts. Only you can help us. Please tell us where he is." "I know where he is," said Narada. "Where?" asked Krishna and Rama eagerly. "Where is he?" "He is a captive," said the rishi. "Banasura has tied him up with his Nagapasha, and Aniruddha is in captivity." "But how can that be possible, my lord?" asked the Yadava brothers in surprise. "He had no quarrel with Banasura. He does not even know that such a person exists." "You are right," said Narada. "Aniruddha has no quarrel with Bana, but Banasura is highly incensed with Aniruddha." They were silent for a moment. Then Krishna said, "There is evidently a story behind this captivity of the youngster. Please tell us what happened, my lord." "I came just for that. I am sure you will enjoy the story," said Narada, and told them about how Usha dreamed of Aniruddha, about her laments, and about Chitraleka's attempts to find out who the young man was, about the painting of the portraits, and he elaborated on it. He smiled mischievously and said, "Krishna, when Chitraleka painted your picture," Usha said, "he was very much like this, but he is much more handsome and much younger." "Krishna," said Balarama, "evidently your days of charm are all over. Your grandson is more handsome according to a girl in the Asura house." Krishna smiled at his words and looked at Narada as if asking him to proceed. Narada then told them about how Chitraleka carried away the young prince to please her friend, and about how Bana came to know of it and rushed into the Antapura to find Usha and her Aniruddha playing a game of dice. Balarama laughed loudly, and Krishna was equally amused to hear about the escapade of his grandson. After a while, they became serious and said, "But we have to go now and rescue our young gallant." Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Shri Krishnar Panamast. Chapter 240 of Shrimadbhagavatam, The Attack on Bana's City. Krishna collected a large army and marched towards Shonitapura. He was accompanied by Balarama, Satyaki, Pradyumna, and other Yadava heroes. They attacked the capital city of Bana on all sides. The Yadava army was 12 Akshohinis in strength, and with an equal number of men, Bana came out to fight with them. An unusual feature of this fight was the duel fought between Krishna and Lord Mahadeva. Mahadeva came to fight for his Bhakta, and his son Kumara had come with him. Krishna fought with Shankara and Pradyumna fought with Kumara. Balarama was left to tackle the ministers of Bana. Krishna's Sharanga was busy, and so was Mahadeva's Pinaka. The gods assembled in the skies to watch the fight. During the fight, Mahadeva was made to sleep by the Astra by name Jrumbhana. Krishna then began to fight with the rest of the army. Seeing the havoc played on his army, Bana came out on and fighting first with Satyaki. Bana abandoned him and came to fight with Krishna. He used his bows, several of them, and Krishna broke each one of them. During a lapse in the fight, Bana went into his castle and after a while came out refreshed and ready to fight once again. He seemed like he was willing to fight forever. Krishna took up his chakra and cut off his arms. Most of them had fallen to the ground when Mahadeva intervened and said, Krishna, Banasura is a favored bhakta of mine. I do not want him to be killed. I have protected him for so long and he depends on me for his very life. Do not kill him. Krishna said, I will certainly obey your commands, my lord. This Bana is the son of Bali, one of my bhaktas, and again none of the descendants of Prahlada will be killed by me. I have promised that to him. I cut away the arms of Bana so that he will be cured of his arrogance about his strength. This Bana will be one of your attendants ever by your side, and he need fear no one. Chastened beyond words, Bana prostrated before Rama and Krishna. He went inside his palace and placing Usha and Anuruddha in his chariot, brought them to Krishna. In the midst of great celebrations, the young couple were taken to Dwaraka. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Shri Krishnar Pranamastu.